They got one of the best restaurants.
Wanted to get your hands dirty and see the whole process.
Wait, is this Taste of the Tavern?
We always seem to find our way back. This is what I'm excited about. Ben Hutchison alongside Executive Chef Dan Casey and Director of Food and Beverage Jimmy Kokless. How are you guys?
Well,
Money, how are you?
Well, I just think about how Chef just ends every podcast with, love you.
well, nobody probably realizes that I just run in here after the lunch rush and then sit down, spray deodorant all over myself, and get myself all wet and hydrated. Here I am.
He actually left the entire line
Yeah.
with tickets.
If you're in the tavern right now, I apologize.
Yeah, your tickets are going to be back there for a while.
The food will come out hot, though. We promise. So we have a fun guest today, Jason LaVoie, Director of Sales with Brickstone Brewery.
Thanks for having me.
Like, you're in
happy to be
studio. You're in studio.
Absolutely. It looks like a real studio, too.
I think that's the best part is everyone, we just say, hey, we're in the podcast studio, guys, and it's like a whole separate building from everything we have here at Mistwood. It's not, but we'll leave the rest up to your imagination. We can all fit in this room, so that's the best part. But welcome. You made the trip. A little bit of a drive from Bourbonnais.
It's not too bad.
You're a little in the middle, though. You're in the middle.
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes, roughly.
Okay. Well, how are things at the brewery?
Not bad. Yeah, we're on track. We're, trying to get back to the level we were before COVID hit, and we're well on our way. So, yeah, we're happy. You guys are a huge part of that.
And that's why we brought you in, because we have a great relationship, and we have McWethy's 100, which actually, let's go with Jimmy kind of explaining how that all came about when it did.
Actually, it was probably Jason's idea, but we were bouncing off of each other for a little bit, and he was like, why don't we get you guys down to the brewery one day? Let's brew something, right? And it was always something in the back of our mind. We just didn't have the right partnership, and Brickstone became that right partnership, and that's kind of how it played out. So we took a trip, and actually Chef came with us the first time we brewed, and a few of our managers, and went to town. Ben was there recording everything, because nothing at Mistwood happens unless it's recorded.
Video proof.
Can't hide.
Yeah.
Can't hide it. But it was cool. It was a cool experience. It was cool to see like the behind the scenes of a brewery. Like, it's not glamorous in any way, shape, or form. Like, we did the work. We were pulling the hops out of the tanks. I mean, we were dumping things in. We were tasting. We were waiting around for 3 hours for it. Had great lunches and stuff. But yeah, no, they welcomed us into their home. It was awesome experience. I enjoyed it. I like seeing behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, if you know me, like, I always ask, like, what do you do? What's your job? And I like to hear the behind this. I want to see it, right? I'm very intuitive with that stuff.
Chef, what did you think of that? That was fun. You're up there above with the whole rake-looking thing, just moving stuff around.
Yeah, I've brewed a little bit of beer in my drinking days, like at home, just in like a 5-gallon stock pot. But like on that scale, it was really cool to see like how much beer could be produced in that giant hopper. And honestly, it's very similar to, I would say, baking more than cooking. Well, maybe, but if you're like a brewmaster, like little bits and pieces here to change the flavor and adding hops at certain times and stuff like that. But it was very, very relatable for a chef to walk into that situation and feel comfortable. It was also very cool to see how clean everything at Brickstone was, and like the level of sanitation that was happening. Really, really cool.
It was very wet. I remember it was very wet.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that day we were at the restaurant, the brew pub system, which was where Brickstone originated. And that system is definitely a little more hands-on than our big production facility, which is more push-button automation. So, yeah, you got to see kind of the old-school origins of Brickstone.
So what has that relationship been like with us and having us down there and going through that process? How fun is that for you and your brewmasters and everyone else?
Yeah, it's awesome. You guys, I was just looking at this beforehand. You guys, in terms of importance for us, you guys are a top 10 account, if you believe that, with Brickstone on-premise wise, so bars and restaurants. So you guys are super important. We've always had a close relationship. I forget what year was that we did. It was like
2016.
2016. Okay, yeah, it's been a number of years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super fun to have you guys down. We don't do many of these, what some breweries refer to as private label cans. We don't do many of them. I think we have maybe 2 or 3 that we do. One's with McCormick Place. That's kind of the original one that we did. And then we have just a couple other ones. So, it's not something that we really offer to people readily. And so, yeah, it is. It's an important relationship, and I think that's why we were willing to do it, is because of the the tight knit relationship that we've had with you guys over the years.
We just became best friends. That's what I got out of that.
We weren't before.
I thought you were
Always
before.
best friends, but that was like we just solidified it on a podcast 7 years later.
Yeah.
So
Recorded proof.
a couple different kinds we've done as well. I guess if you can remember and think back, like what have we done together?
Yeah, so I think the original one was more just an IPA, right?
Yeah, it was similar to the American Pale Ale.
Sure.
That you guys have.
Yeah. So that
We just
one was
tweaked it a little bit.
Yep, that one was more of a hoppy beer. Then we recently had transitioned it to its current iteration, which is a kind of an unfiltered wheat with blood orange, and that's the one that we produced in cans as well.
Yeah, and that's the one that's currently available. It's doing pretty well for us. Could do a lot better. Obviously, we always want more, but it's allowed us literally, and if the Bell's rep is listening, don't listening right now, but
Sorry,
it
Bobby.
completely got us away from ordering Bell's Oberon. It was something that we wanted to compete. We saw the sales that were coming through the golf course with Bell's Oberon, and just and I had a quick conversation. I was like, hey, we should change this up. Fruit beers are in the market now. They're pretty popular. Let's try and do something. And he had the great idea to do the juicy orange.
Yeah, I think we wanted something refreshing that we could envision people grabbing off of the beverage cart out on the course, and I think we hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think that's so cool to have a beer of our own on the golf course. And if they love Brickstone, it's like, hey, this is a beer you can only get here. And there's that exclusivity to it, which I think is really unique and enjoyable for people. And they might not know about it until the bev cart comes around or they're in the PC down there and they're just like, oh, what's that beer? And so it's intriguing, it's exciting, and I think we're excited to have it.
Yeah, I think it's always surprising to me, what people ask for in the market. I've had a handful of instances where an account has asked, boy, can I get some of that McWethy's? And I was like, wow, where did, they must have had it up here. Cause there's not a lot of places other than here that you could have had it. Maybe if you were a guest at the brewery and there was a can laying around, but I was it was a billiard parlor, and I had the guy asked me if he could get some, and I didn't really know how to answer it, but yeah, it's interesting, and all the feedback that I've gotten on it has been that people love it.
It's cool. We did a cool launch party. I remember this. We were talking about this a little earlier, off topic, but yeah, it was neat because Jim was around, obviously our owner, who has since passed, and we did a nice launch party for it, and we did it right. The can design, Rexy, our brand director, designed it and did a phenomenal job. We wanted to keep the same essence of what Brickstone is, because I think their can designs are one, if not the best designed cans out there on the market. And we wanted to make ours equally as impressive, but also, sticking with our brand and theirs, kind of combining it. And I think she nailed that on the head.
Yeah, and that party that we had, it was awesome. We had the whole red carpet, we had balloons, we had the big, cracking of the keg, everything. It was spot on, and I think it was just it's a great collaboration, a great relationship, as we said. I want to know, from a chef standpoint, how much cooking do you do with beer?
I mean, in the tavern, we go through about 4 gallons of beer a day just in fish batter. So a lot. Yeah.
And then at home, you might throw a little, whatever. But
yeah, I do not drink, but
we want everyone to know that.
But my wife does. Yeah, get some help, would you?
She's listening.
So there's always open beer or wine like laying around my house. And yeah, if you're like deglazing something or braising something, I mean, even grilling brats, there's always beer in the fridge at home.
Uh,
What about you? You throw some Brickstone on your food?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that I've used our beer in. Our hoppy beers, I will say, make an awesome michelada. So that's one thing that I always use our beer as an ingredient in. Cooking wise, I've done some beer brats, and in our pale ale. Yeah, I mean, it goes well. And there's, we always love to have a culinary element with all of our products. It's fun to partner with someone also that is so culinary oriented as you guys.
You guys have a partnership with Plauschman's mustard too,
We
right?
do, yeah. We make a craft beer mustard that uses our American pale ale.
It's awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's
Very neat.
It's widely distributed too.
Yeah.
It's in a number of states.
Yep.
But yeah.
And then for you guys, why don't you just tell people a little background about Brickstone? And you guys have grown insanely in the last decade.
Yeah. So Brickstone started out, it's a Greek family that owns it, and they were always kind of in the restaurant business. So it's four, and this is always confusing, so I got to make sure I get this straight. So it's two siblings from that are both two sets of siblings that are first cousins. So their parents originally owned restaurants their entire lives, and one of them, Tommy, he's kind of the head brewer, he got into brewing beer in college, started to experiment with stuff, started entering the beers that he was making into festivals, and won some awards, Great American Beer Festival gold medal, bronze at World Beer Cup. So kind of like almost a Super Bowl and World Series of beer, one taking gold and the other, medaling in. But yeah, from there we had distributors that were approaching us to distribute product, started kind of in the city, and the rest is kind of history. But the brewery is, I think we're probably somewhere in the top 10 in Illinois in terms of size. So it's grown from, and it says it on one of our cans now, from humble origins. So it definitely started small, as most breweries did, and we're growing.
It's cool because when we brewed the first batch, like what Jason said earlier, we were where it started, essentially like it was an extension of the restaurant. So just think of, typical American family restaurant, in this case a Greek family restaurant.
100%.
And yeah, let's just throw on some, let's throw up some walls in a ceiling and house this tank. Awesome setup. And that's what Chef was referring to earlier.
Yeah. Well, and then you built the huge warehouse then, right?
So when originally when Brickstone was distributed, it was draft only. So this would be probably 2012 to 15. It was draft only. And then when the decision was made to package and can beer as well, the production brewery was built, which is a 50-barrel brew house that is capable of turning out 20,000 barrels a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it started like a family restaurant that decided to brew beer. So, kind of a little bit of a different story than a lot of breweries.
Yeah, Jimmy, how many Greek families have the restaurant? They say, let's have a brewery.
That's the only one I know. and they're successful. So they did it right, man. Hats off to Tommy for the idea and just going after, what he thought was the future. And it is. I mean, beer is crazy, and craft beer
It was cool too because
awesome.
it's like the two worlds collided. Like even when we had lunch, it was like being in like a Greek restaurant. Like there was like Saganaki being flamed, but then it was like there was nice beer and it was like a cool new age sort of feeling to it too. Sure. It was like that old comfortable that you're familiar with, and now like this is the direction that it's going.
It's the buffalo chicken rolls for me.
Yeah.
Man, every time I go down there, my wife, she has family down there, so we're down there for holidays or birthday parties and stuff. So I always try to make the effort to go down to Brickstone and either fill up some growlers or whatever, or just, say, hey, is Jason around? Or, talk to the owners over there and say hi. But I know that's where they always go for football games and everything. They can stumble home after that. So it all works out.
Yeah, it's definitely the place to go in Kankakee County for sure.
Oh, it is. So what is going on this time of year for you? Do you kind of kick things off big in the springtime, or?
We don't really do a traditional seasonal lineup that we package. So, but yeah, this should be coming into kind of our busy season as the weather starts cooperating. As far as plans for new beers, we have a lager coming out soon, which we're super excited about. It's going to be a 12-pack that's going to have an aggressive price point. And that's kind of really our big release that we have in the next coming months.
That could be breaking news here.
Yeah, that is, I think, actually.
You heard it first.
That's exciting.
He's going to get fired. Jeez.
At least he was on our podcast, though.
Right.
I mean, this is the big thing.
Hold on, is that Tommy texting you right now?
No, he'd be happy to get the news out, I'm sure.
No, that's awesome. So, I mean, you like to come out and golf here when you can.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we try to do it at least once a year, maybe twice a year, but it is nice to have that beer right there in the cart. You're ready to roll.
It is pretty sweet. Yeah, I noticed that the cart, when it rolls up when I'm golfing with you guys, it usually is like 90% McWethy's 100.
That is not on purpose.
Like, this is an accident.
It's all we got in stock right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, it's great. Well, Jimmy, talk a little bit more in depth about that. Like, we had a big naming of this beer, and it was kind of like the franchise of beer, or the line of beer, if you will.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure, right, we stuck to our brand. We stuck to what we want, right? And, we went through a couple name options, I guess, in the early beginning. And with the 100 kept sticking out because we always say, hey, we want a company to last for 100 years, So it only felt right to make it, McWethy's 100. And then obviously to tag it with whatever type of beer it is. In this case, it's the Juicy Orange. But the coolest thing about our can is what's on the bottom. And I don't know that many people even look on the bottom can of a beer. But ours is really cool because it is a nod to our late owner. And it says, cheers to 100 years. It's very cool. JBM, his initials. And I don't know, when I got the picture from Jason initially, when we canned it for the first time, I was literally at a Chick-fil-A parking lot waiting for an order. And he texts me the picture, says, what do you think? And I saw it. And I don't know. I don't want to get emotional.
It's pretty cool.
It is very cool.
Super cool.
Very cool.
I remember talking to him at that party that night, and he seemed super proud to have his family name on a beer. I'll never forget that. So hopefully he'd be happy with the pattern and what we've done with it over the years.
Yeah, we're just, again, the goal is to sell it, man. We got to get this out to as many people, and beyond the golf course. Here we've started putting it into our banquet packages, trying to get those guests that would normally never order that, right? Give them another option than, the basic lagers that you're going to find, the domestic lagers and whatnot. But yeah, no, our plan is to just keep this thing pumping and, continue our relationship with Brickstone. They've been great with us, and we hope, it's mutual and get more cans sold, more draft beer sold.
No, and going back to Jim real quick, I remember that night you talk about kind of how he was and what he thought of it. I remember when we did that, he's like, not that he was about having his name on stuff at all, but it was more of a fun, quirky, like, I can't wait to tell my friends about this. Like, my name's on this beer. Like, yeah, he would have never thought that.
Yeah.
He literally, again, I've heard the story numerous times, but he literally takes off on magazines, like the name and your address. He'll like Sharpie it out or rip it off before he throws the magazine away. For him to put his name on a restaurant, let alone a beer can, is, I mean, we're shooting for the stars here. We're shooting for the moon.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Because we convinced them.
No, you did. And then even with McWethy's Tavern, that story was so enjoyable where you're just like, you didn't want it. And then it was like, all right, it's fine.
Yeah,
you pretty much forced it along.
I think once I got the menu made and he saw it, it was kind of like, well, yeah, I ordered 200 of these, so we're kind of stuck. Let's go.
No, that's awesome. So looking forward, we haven't even talked about this. This is like how just off the cuff some things are here. Are we doing anything different? Are we going to roll with the Juicy Orange again? And then we'll figure out maybe something for the fall. We always talk. Like, everything's always in talks.
Yeah, I think the Juicy Orange is what we want to concentrate on. It's, we're breaking weather, so we want a refreshing beer on the golf course, in the beverage carts, in McWethy's Tavern. And then in the fall, possibly doing something else, something different, something with bourbon barrels. I don't know.
I'm going to say, I was literally about to say, because I love all the Dark Secret and all the things, the limited releases, small batch type stuff you do. So I don't overly drink the darker beers, but I drink their darker beers. So
it's harder to overdrink the darker beers. I mean, when they're 13+% ABV, it hits pretty hard.
But the flavors are just so good.
Thank you.
So, and tell everyone a little about the process with something like that, or a different beer where there's the tastings, there's you guys circle up, like just talk about the process of the brewing, because it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's probably a lot like your process here and coming up with ideas. It's, you know, it's pretty informal. It's us tasting beer off the tank. You know, as far as naming beers, we have like a text thread that we bounce ideas off of. We're always looking for ideas on names. It's, you know, it's not an exact science. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. But like our process of developing stuff, a lot of times we sit down and with Dark Secret, as you mentioned, Ben, we just come up with ideas. I know we've been doing a lot lately of pastry style offerings with the Dark Secret line. We usually do a straight bourbon barrel, and then we'll do a couple, 2 or 3 variants that are spun off of that. But yeah, it's a very informal process. It's not really, like I said, it's not an exact science. We're coming up with new ideas and developing them.
So you guys don't sit in a boardroom and think through this?
It's probably a lot like this room, actually. Yeah.
Well, Chef, you're the same way with food in the kitchen. You try
I
different.
would say a lot of the ideas we come up with are in the strangest places you could ever imagine.
Literally every meeting is on the expo line.
Yeah.
Like we don't sit at a table like a normal,
Very
you know,
informal.
like normal human beings. Like we literally like, hey chef, what are you doing? Oh, you're in the middle of a lunch rush. Let's talk about the next event.
Yeah, when your brain is stressed, it comes up with some great ideas.
Well, the ideas, but in general, I've been in both situations, in the brewery and in the kitchen. Everyone's circled up. You guys with food, then with beer. Try this, check this. What do you think of it? Take a bite of that. You know, I think that's probably the best way to do it, honestly, because you're getting the most honest feedback in the quickest way possible.
100% agree.
And that's, I mean, Dan Bradley always says that here at Mistwood, like nobody has an original idea. It's always like a piece of an idea and then another person's piece, and then it's one idea. 4 people coming up with one idea together. It's much easier that way.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the podcast previously, but our system, I wouldn't change it for anything. Right. We don't sit in an office. We don't have a whiteboard, you know, where people draw things on the whiteboard. What do you think about this? Like, you know, hey, look, everybody's opinion matters. You know, it's literally like, hey, somebody throws something out and it's going to stick, and everybody figure out how to make that thing that's stuck better. And that's what we're great at, I think.
Yeah, it's collaborative.
Yeah.
Oh, the ideas definitely are, but if there's a bad one, we'll let people know too.
Yeah, let's
that happens to me.
good Brickstone failures.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh, but yeah, there's a lot. I mean, yeah.
Any beers just completely not work out, and you're like, oh, scrap it.
What beers did you spit out? Like you tasted it out of the tank and it literally came right out.
Oh, I'm sure there's been nothing that comes to mind as just a far and away winner of that award. But yeah, no, there's definitely hits and misses and things that, you know, get tweaked over time. We do that from time to time too. But yeah, nothing that really just missed by we've had beers that we've canned and then not canned anymore. That definitely happens, as it does to a lot of breweries, but not really anything that just turned out totally as a failure. I would say nothing that sticks out in my mind. A lot of times if something is in development, it'll start at the brew pub and it might end there. If it isn't something that's super successful, it might never make it to packaging. But yeah.
That's what we're talking about. But I mean, your flagship, the APA, right? How does that work for beer? Where, okay, there's the recipe for it. Like, that's that. Have beers and do beers ever have a different recipe at some point?
Yeah, so the funny story about APA is that it actually, before it won all the awards that it did, it actually was kind of a happy accident, and it started with one hop, and I want to say it was Amarillo that they ran out of, and he substituted more Citra. I could have that wrong. I'm not a brewer, but he substituted the ratio of the 3-hop Citra Centennial and Amarillo in it, and that's when it won the awards. So some stuff happens like that where it is kind of something that you didn't plan for, and it turns out to be a great thing, and that was one of them with APA.
Does it happen in the kitchen ever? Do you think
that happens all the time, right? Like 100% what he just said, like, oh, there's only half a cup left of this and we need a cup. And it's like, well, just use this. And then you're like, wow, this is pretty good. Let's just keep doing it this way. Like, yeah.
It's like an imperfect, perfect science.
Yeah, Bob Ross, happy accidents.
Happy accidents is perfect. I love it. So I don't know if you heard, but we're starting a farm here because we're a golf course, we're a restaurant. Why not have a farm, right?
I did hear that.
Yes, that means he's listening to the podcast, guys.
Success.
Loyal fan,
I'm
loyal
having
fan.
deja vu right now.
And everything kind of points to, well, we have bees as part of our farm, so we should probably down the road do something with our honey and your beer.
We definitely should. So, yeah, well, I guess we're breaking news again here on the podcast. Tommy, if you're listening, get ready for it. But, yeah, honey's a phenomenal ingredient to use in beer. And, we'd love to do that.
Jimmy, what can we do with that then?
Let's just decide right now.
Yeah, we could do anything we wanted to, but I could see a future beer dinner with our honey beer and, I don't know, 4 or 5 course menu.
So what would those 4 or 5 courses look like, Dan?
Yeah.
Oh, this is put me on the spot.
Quick.
I mean, they would have honey in every one of them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Like a honey barbecue rubbed chicken main course family style, like nice char on the outside. Be fun to do like some sort of summery baklava for dessert, like
Ooh, yeah.
some like peach salad with some honey drizzled on top. Yeah, I love honey. We use lots of honey in my house.
Just created the whole menu. There it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I think we've got to figure out the layout, but for sure, I think a honey ingredient beer dinner collab, something like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember. So what we did was it like the wrestling or we did the boxing ring beer dinner?
It's a wrestling ring,
Yeah,
Jason.
that was.
It's not a
I
boxing
forgot. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not a WWF fan, so I got that wrong. But yeah, you guys do awesome events. We'd love to do another beer dinner with you guys in the future.
Put a wrestling ring in the middle of the farm out there.
Can you imagine? I mean, we
been
put it in the
working
middle of
out
we put it in the middle of the banquet room. Why not?
Like Field of Dreams, but wrestling. That would be awesome.
You three will wrestle each other.
Yes.
If you
That would
build
sell
it, they will
tickets.
come. Yeah. This is the quick lightning round for you. Can you name, I was going to give you like a 10-second thing, but I kind of just want to know how many different types of beers you can name.
That's a good game. We should time it.
Styles. Like, I mean,
Wow.
here, I could get the phone out. I just like,
Here it is.
I mean,
Talk about on the spot.
And this is really on the spot.
he
so-
literally is surrounded by beer every single
yeah,
day.
I mean, I'm just going to name
So-
all of ours.
Well, that's perfectly fair.
Yeah.
We'll get the stopwatch ready. So just
man.
name different types of beers in 3, 2, 1, go.
So there's American Pale Ale, IPA, Milkshake IPA, fruit beers, sours, Berliner Weiss, lagers. Did I mention that one already? I probably did. God, this shouldn't be this hard.
He's so mad we put him up to this game.
Doppelbock.
I mean, that's good. Like I would have been like,
You
IPA,
could have
stout,
asked like
porter.
name all the towns you've lived in, and I would have been like, well, I can't even do that. On
That was
the spot.
8. That was 8.
That's nothing.
straight.
he probably had 8 in about 15 seconds if we, ironed it all out.
That was 7 more than I knew there was.
Well, he had some really fancy ones in there too. Like I said, I'd just be like,
Doppelbacher.
Porter,
That sounded like
stout.
I didn't
Star
even go
Wars
dark. I
characters.
should have went
Milkshake
dark beers,
IPA.
too.
Yeah.
you guys have had a lot of milkshake IPAs.
We have, yeah, we have.
Is it a popular one for you?
It is, yeah. I think ours is one of the best ones out there. It's it kind of is a polarizing style for some people, just because it's kind of what people call a hype style. The one that's kind of come along in the last few years. But I think ours is one of the best ones, and I think the reason I think it's so good is it's just very fruit forward. There's a lot that are pretty odd out there, and I think it's kind of given me the style, not to call anybody out, but it's kind of given the style of a bad name with some places that retail beer.
Oh, he should call him out.
More breaking news.
I've heard some.
We need the
called out,
listeners, Jason.
but after we're done, I'll give you the rundown.
Well, how did Milkshake IPA come about? Like,
Let's put milk in it, or
yeah.
Yeah.
Who thought of it?
So it's like just kind of lactose that's in there. I don't know who. I've never heard anyone claim that they were the originator of it. I'd actually like to know that. But yeah, it's, the milkshake comes in with just being fruit and lactose. The IPA portion of it is often misleading because they're very much not like IPAs. They're not hop forward beers. They're more fruit forward. But I think the lactose element, it just kind of adds to the mouthfeel and makes it creamier, and it makes a nice balance to the sweetness. And that's a good question. I don't know who originated them.
That's good info too. Somebody might get scared from seeing the word IPA in there. They don't like IPAs and not understand like, I'm not going to like this, but maybe they will. Yeah, I kind of often preface my pitch of them to people that aren't fans of them with that it's very much not an IPA. It's very misleading in that way. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite runs of beer that you guys did was the Jammed series, and they were just, I'm not so much a sweet, fruity type guy, but it was just enough of a hint of a flavor added to these.
Yeah. Yeah, I've personally been in the mood for fruit beers a lot lately. I can even be guilty of getting hopped out a little bit from time to time, so I like to switch it up with a fruit beer. And our Jam series is a nice example of a fruit style beer.
My wife's favorite is Haze Juice over there. That's a great one.
Nice. So she is a hophead then.
Yeah, I'm a pretty basic IPA type guy.
Sure.
So we kind of drink the same beers. So I don't want to call my wife basic, but she's pretty much like a basic IPA woman. So
a basic woman.
Yes. She's great.
You are in trouble, Ben.
Yeah.
So the only wife we haven't talked about is Jimmy's wife during this, because we talked about your wife drinking, my wife being basic IPA woman. So I don't know. Does Athena drink beer? Athena doesn't drink beer.
She does not drink beer. She rarely drinks glass of wine on occasion. I think she drinks more since we've been married. I have a whole liquor bar on my desk pretty much, and I'll bring things home. I'll be like, hey, we have to try this. I have to make a decision tomorrow or whatever. Like, just take
it's
a sip.
tough job.
Right.
I have to try this.
Just taste it, and then we'll, dump it down the sink. But yeah, no, she doesn't drink a lot.
You guys don't drink Metox at home?
No, you only drink Metoxa when somebody dies, which is kind of weird.
I shouldn't have mentioned that. Bad omen. Sorry.
Bringing down the mood, Jason.
Knock on wood. Sorry.
No worries.
Well, all this beer talk's making me thirsty, but there's work to be done, gentlemen. Jason, I'm so glad you're able to make the trip. Come here, sit in the studio,
Thanks for having
do
me.
this. I guess the next step would be to have everyone come out here, buy some beer when you're out on the golf course. We'll have our McWethy's 100 available, and you'll be here to hit some golf balls.
We'll be trying to break 100 again, as always, unsuccessfully.
That's true. I mean, hopefully we hit the golf balls straight, but at least the beer will be good, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Jason.
I thought that's why we named it McWethy's 100 was because of everybody's terrible golf scores.
No, chef. It's actually because. Whoops.
There's a chance of that for sure. But thank you, everyone, for listening. Thanks again, Jason. And we will see all of you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Love you.
They got one of the best restaurants.
Wanted to get your hands dirty and see the whole process.
Wait, is this Taste of the Tavern?